Welcome back, everybody. Here today with Richard Kimmins. Richard is an engineer, has worked all over the world, but he's also one of the two organisers, along with Trevor Walsh, of the Tinahely Model Exhibition and Steam Rally, which happens next weekend, the 24th of March. And Richard has come here today to ask me a little bit about modelling and this LTM 1650 in particular. Richard.
Thank you very much, John. Now, to start off with, John, I would like to know what really started you off in the modelling world and modelling cranes in particular.
Well, I read a lot, and I found a book one day about making wooden models, and I'm a carpenter all my life, but I had never thought of making wooden models. So that got me interested. Secondly, I've always loved big machinery, and cranes are very impressive. So I wanted to model cranes. So that's how I got into doing it. And your first show that I went to, not your first show, but my first show that I went to in Carnew back in 2015 or 16, really the bug bit home at that stage.
And it certainly did bite home, but it also perfected your model making from day one. Like, you can see the improvement in every single model that you make. And this is a 700 tonner.
Yeah.
This one here in particular. Can you explain a few bits and pieces, John, on how you went to start on that and how it works?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Liebherr call it the maximum on 8 axles. She's an 8-axle crane, and they think that this is the maximum that can be done with an 8-axle crane. As you said, it's rated to lift 700 tons, and it's got some very different pieces from other cranes that we've worked on, that I've worked on. It's got what they call vario ballast, and if you look closely, you can see the ballast moves backwards to increase the lifting capacity of the crane without adding any extra ballast. It's a brilliant innovation that Liebherr have come up with. And also, as I said, on 8 axles, it can get into a site that a 9-axle crane can't get into. So it's a massive step up from the 750 ton Liebherr crane. This one almost does as much, but on a shorter chassis.
Correct, yeah. Now, John, just to mention there, your ballast on the back of that, I think, folks, the parts and the precision and the patience that goes into making all this ballast is handmade by yourself, John.
Every part is handmade. The only thing that I don't make are the dowels. I buy those because I can make them, but I can't make them as consistently the right size every time.
So you buy dowel rod.
So I buy dowel rod, but everything else is made by me with basic woodworking machinery and tools.
Well, I can see it here, John. There's definitely a confined space that you have, but I'll tell you something, you do some work in it, and it's absolutely brilliant to see the precision that's used in the making of this. And the thought, when you go to make one of these cranes, do you go to the site to measure the crane initially, or do you get a drawing, or what way do you work them from?
I did actually measure and photograph one of these cranes at Kavanagh Crane Hire, which is only about 10 miles from me. But normally I wouldn't have access to big cranes like this. So what I do is I go online and I search for Liebherr's online brochure, and that will give me outline measurements of the major parts of the crane. And I can also scale from the drawings in that brochure. But I also have a network of crane operators all around the world who are only too willing to help me, because they want to see a nice model. Yes. And they want to help me to make it as best I can.
True. Now, just to mention that when you have that network, we have noticed that you have come into the radar of Liebherr themselves, and Liebherr themselves have sent you memorabilia, like to go on your wall of fame here, as we call it. And it's nice to see that being recognised by the likes of the big crane companies and the manufacturers as well.
It is very nice to be recognised for your work. And yes, you're right. Liebherr have sent me several things. These stickers on the wall, and they actually yesterday on LinkedIn they reshared one of my posts and congratulated me on doing such a good job on making a replica of the Liebherr 1650. So it's nice to get the recognition from the manufacturer.
It's beautiful to see it, and it's nice to see it now. You have here on the front here the container as well, and it's just to show what uh, the crane is capable. Like, it's just to put a load on the end of the crane. It's not by any means a 700-ton weight or anything like that, but just to show what it's about. And the hooks, also the way the hooks work, and the drops of the rope, as you can see there, on that as well, for to take more weight and less weight whenever you want to do that.
Yeah, when I build a model, any model, be it a truck, a crane, a bulldozer, whatever, I try to make it work in the same way as the real machine. So all of my models are as functional as I can possibly make them, and this is no different.
And that's you can see that in the manufacture, and this crane, the way it's done, it's absolutely beautiful, out of this world to see it being done. Now, John, just to move on a little bit, I suppose, if you'd like, we're running our show in Tinahely. It is a model exhibition in Tinahely for the South Wicklow Hospice Home Care and another charity called CARE, K-A-R-E, who work with people with special needs. And we're running a model show in Tinahely on Sunday the 24th, as John said already. And we have, John is launching this particular crane at the show. Also in that show as well, we have Tinahely being the home of Fawcett Circus. We have Mary and Pat Flynn up from Tremore in County Waterford. They're bringing up a model of Fawcett Circus, a whole diorama of Fawcett Circus, if you like to call it, and to probably celebrate, can we say that, the home of Fawcett's. And it would be it's nice, it's appropriate that Pat and Mary bring up the show, or their explain, or their display, and hopefully it'll go down well. Now, also as well, among other displays or exhibits at the show, we're having for the first time, it is the first showing of a tabletop thrashing set, if you like to call it. It's a portable steam engine, a thrashing mill, and an elevator, owned by Aoife and Nigel Whitford from Gore's Bridge, and they're setting it up there on the day. It'll be the first time shown in Ireland, and it's also very nice to have it there. This is a unique piece. This is a unique exhibit, I suppose, if you like to call it, because it has been seen mostly at vintage days and steam rallies, whereas this one now has been shown at a model show, and we're absolutely delighted to have it there on that particular day. Of course, along with all the rest of the models, and the younger people in particular, we were all the time trying to get interested. That it would only be a farm diorama with half a dozen tractors shown working in the field, at least it would keep their mind working, and it gives them an interest as well. And it's not just for children as well, as for, we'd say, old people playing with toys, if you like to call it that. It's we have been described,
Yeah.
it has been described as old people playing with toys. One fella in particular said it to me, he couldn't understand how old men could play with toys. Believe you me, they're far from toys. I can assure you of that, and I can assure you that the collectors that have them wouldn't be very impressed with that. But then again, it's nice to have a light-hearted point of view as well.
Yeah, it is nice. I'd like to encourage as many of you as possible here in Ireland to come to that show, because there's nothing like a child's face when they walk up towards my table and see a massive crane, and it will be much bigger than this at the show because it'll have the luffing jib on it. It will be 10 feet or more in height. And you see a child's face looking up at a crane like that, and it means a lot to me to see a small child get interested in something like this. And you'd never know, he could be an operator of the future. And with that in mind, we have an announcement to make at the show next week. I'll let Richie make the announcement.
John has so kindly donated for a raffle at the show this lever crane here. She is an LTF 1060 4.1. John, can you explain the weight that one carries at the moment?
It's rated for 60 tons. It's a lever crane. It's a lever 60-ton crane mounted on a Scania truck, and that's why it's known as an LTF. It's a lever telescopic crane on a truck.
And John has so very, very kindly donated this for a raffle at the show, folks. So you'll be able to not alone see the big crane, but you'll be also able to win one of them at the show as well. So that, with that in mind, we would like to ask you all to come and support the cause, which is the South Wicklow Hospice Home Care and Care. And they would be delighted with your there. And also I would like to thank John for the opportunity of this interview and the opportunity to promote our show. Thank you very much indeed.
It was my pleasure to have you here today, Richard, and I hope as many of you as possible will come next weekend. For those viewers from outside Ireland, I will be making a video at the show so you can see what it's all about. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you again next week.
Thank you very much.